My speech today is not about trans rights. I'm not here to talk about genuine trans-identified people, many of whom contact me regularly because they're appalled at what's been done in their name. Instead, I'm here to talk about the erosion of women's rights and child safeguarding that's happening as a direct result of modern-day trans activism. We are among a handful of countries in the world who have brought in full self-ID. Elsewhere, this system is overseen by a panel of doctors and lawyers. But in Ireland, there is no gatekeeping whatsoever. We switched from the medical model to full self-ID at the last minute, intoxicated with a vision of ourselves as a newly progressive, casting off our dark past. If this amendment goes through without a clear and explicit ring fencing of our spaces, places and services based on biological sex, not gender, then we are facing next level self-ID. Which would mean that at any time any man can identify into any female-only space without a gender recognition certificate. This is not scaremongering. This is already happening in Canada and the US. Like in Loudoun County, Virginia, where a boy who identified as a girl was allowed to use the girls' toilets at his school and raped a girl there. Or in Wee Spa in downtown Los Angeles, where the serial sex offender Darren Marager exposed himself to women and children in the women's section of the spa. Are we really to believe that predators won't use the exact same laws and the exact same lack of safeguarding to access their victims? Have we learned nothing in this country? Self-ID is deeply unpopular with people once they understand what it actually does. Our Canvas Red Sea poll shows that Irish people are supportive of self-ID, but only in a social setting. They want our spaces and services separated on the basis of biological sex, not gender identity. Our poll showed that fewer than 1 in 5 people in Ireland support self-ID, and that is why activists have to push through these bills to enforce gender ideology on the people. This amendment to our Equality Acts, the Hate Crime Bill, the Anti-Conversion Therapies Bill, the expansion of self-ID to children, the indoctrination of our children in our schools, the policing of our language, all serve to criminalise dissent and enforce the new religion. We're here to tell women that we understand the profound psychic pain and cognitive dissonance caused when criminal men who self-ID as women are reported as women by the media. These are not our crimes. When mothers are called birthing parents, not mothers, having grown a human being inside them, and a new organ presented to nourish it. When only little girls are held down and cut with a scalpel, yet they are people with vulvas. When there are 200 million fewer girls in the world because they are aborted or killed before they take their first breath. When Irish women are still being dragged through the courts and mothers are dying because the state covered up its own incompetence in the cervical check scandal. When women who gave birth on tables, goaded by nuns, are told they were not abused. When 80-year-olds have to fight the state in the courts and a healthcare system that oversaw a policy of cutting their pelvises in half. None of these things happen to people. They happen to women and girls who cannot identify out of their oppression. We do not accept this dehumanizing language from the media and from our legislators, who have excised the word mother and the word woman from 7 bills retroactively. We stand with the incarcerated women of Ireland, 80% of whom are mothers, 95% of whom are non-violent petty offenders, imprisoned for crimes related to poverty, to addiction, to coercive relationships. They should not even be in prison, but as I speak to you here today, they are, and they're housed with fully intact male prisoners, one of whom raped his stepson, his 4-year-old stepson, for 2 years threatening to break the little boy's arms and legs if he told anyone. That man was given a gender recognition certificate, and it gets worse. Initially, he was housed in the DOCA Centre, the unit for mothers and their infants. We stand with the incarcerated women of California who are handed condoms and given extra time if they misgender their assailants. If your head is exploding right now, don't worry, you're normal. Your reaction is normal. You just didn't realise that we're in the upside down, a place where we no longer keep rapists apart from women to keep women safe, but we imprison them with women. We are living through a new era of doublespeak, of groupthink, of witch hunt, of denial of biological reality, and of ideological totalitarianism that the West has never seen. And worst of all, it is the most vulnerable women and the most vulnerable children who are fodder for this gender machine.
Yeah.
For 75 years of the 100 years of this state, we incarcerated unmarried mothers and their children. Those children were allowed to die in dying rooms. They were buried in unmarked graves. Those graves are yet unexhumed. The ones who lived were sold. Everybody knew. These laws are a new turn of that same wheel. We have segued seamlessly from one bureaucracy to the next. A secret Jesuit committee wrote our 1937 Constitution. And now, unelected, unrepresentative activists are grooming our politicians and pushing through these laws. We Irish are historically very good at doing the dumb thing. We keep the head down, we say nothing. The famine, colonialism, and the church all intertwined to hardwire this into our collective consciousness. But unlike those men and women who came before us and looked the other way, we will not be cowed. We do not submit to the new religion, and we will be heard.